welcome back, and I'm here with John Broons, the family business guy. We're talking about meetings and with family businesses, and I was asking you, and just in the break, you said, well, I'll jot down a few points for you of things to look out for. And I was actually amazed because you just went scribble, scribble, and I'm like going, goodness me. What are some of the points you said that you have to look out for?
Look, things that I'm always aware of. I try to be present, constant through the meeting. Depending on how many people are in the room, depending on the purpose of the meeting, I'm looking for body language. I'm listening to the tone of the voices. I'm listening to the silence, because some people stop talking and then there is the pregnant pause.
Good point. That the one about silence is a good point. Yeah, because quite often you'll be in a conversation, won't you? And then someone stops talking. Someone else may be talking, but your observation is, why have you suddenly turned either off or gone silent?
Sure. And in these family meetings, assuming there's more than 3 people in the room, you really want to have one conversation. You don't want to have 2 or 3 conversations going on. It means that those others that aren't involved in the main conversation, they're not listening to the stuff that they need to be hearing. So who's listening? As an advisor, I need to be listening myself, so I need to be involved in it. I want to pick out where the power is in the room. I want to pick out who's actually running things, because it can be just the gesture, just the look. And okay, there was something that went on there that nobody else may have seen, or something between 1 or 2 people. Know when to call time out. So if there's something going on that you want to take a break, you can call time out and say, okay, hang on, let's just take a moment here, and we're getting a bit stuck, or there's somebody getting a little bit emotional. We need to just find out where we're going here.
Is that where those types of things, watching the power play in the room and watching knowing when to call a time out, is that the skill set you've just built up? I know you had your own family business, obviously you've experienced it firsthand, but is that just because of the years you've been doing this now that you kind of intuitively start to, those subtleties, almost unsaid subtleties that you pick up on?
Yeah, look, I've been doing this for over 20 years, 30 years. And when you're running meetings, you get used to it. There's the simple corporate meeting, which is, we're here for this reason, let's get through it, and everybody's in a hurry to get out of the meeting. So bang, 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 you cover it, you know who's accountable, and you know the date it's got to be done by. They're simple things. When we start talking about processes in a business, in a family business, the processes can say, well, that's not the way I do it. And you get emotional about, well, I don't like that person doing it because they might break it, or they might do it and damage something, so it costs us more in the long term, So there's a lot of this, if I do it and you do it, when actually it's not about me or you, it's actually about the process. So we need to actually remember some of these things.
Yeah, I just listen because it's and those 2 in particular just caught my attention. So I'm going, that takes a certain time in the game, if that's the right way of putting it, to better pick up those subtle nuances sometimes.
Sure. Where
someone's fresh off the bat, they miss it.
Hopefully have an agenda to work with. Because how many times do I go into a family meeting and there isn't an agenda? We haven't thought about it. We thought, well, you were coming, so we just met with you. Okay, so what's the purpose of the meeting? Again,
we get it quite often here, because people say, oh, you guys just sit down and have a chat. But we set an agenda. We sit down and talk what we're going to actually talk about, don't we?
Sure.
It might sound like a conversation, but we do actually have some structure to it. So we do have an agenda too. I can tick that one.
Seating and positioning. We're actually sitting, positioning. But if you've got 10 people in a family and there's yourself, make a note of who's sitting next to whom, and maybe the next meeting is at exactly the same layout or a different layout. Because if the power has an influence, where does that move in the room? The room conditions, air conditioning. If it's too cold, too hot, discomfort, people don't want to be there. Outside noise is an influence. Sometimes meeting in coffee shops isn't necessarily conducive to having a family meeting.
No. It might be good for the person who wants to have that private chat with you, though, just away from the business.
Sure.
I'm sure you've had quite a few of them.
I I have a lot of coffee shop meetings.
We're probably not going to discover who with, but...
No, but it's amazing when you're really in a conversation with a family member and they're focused and you're focused on listening,
Yeah.
you don't hear anything else.
No.
You really don't hear anything else. And an hour can go by and you would not know whether you were in a coffee shop, whether you were in an aeroplane, or whether you were driving your car home.
Wow. John, do you find sometimes, and I know you structure your meetings to get the result you're after, do you find sometimes that by being able to take the family member away from the business, they feel a little bit more in a public environment, there's a coffee shop, but they feel more secure and more private? It's almost a...
There's definitely a privacy part of it. Mostly we move away from the business and from the home because they want neutral territory. So this memory, the last point that I've got here, other than etc., is understanding of place. So when I call meetings, I'm finding out where is the right place to have the meeting.
Yeah.
If the place is at work in the boardroom and somebody has a very unpleasant experience, that will colour that venue, that room, for that individual coming to it, may not want to come back to another meeting there. So neutral territory could be an opportunity for somebody here.
Yes. Wow.
And even families, when they do have get-togethers, you remember so-and-so's wedding was at that particular venue, and I remember so-and-so's 21st birthday was at that venue. Oh, it wasn't a good night. We've never been back there. Funny you should say that, So places have memories.
Yeah. Do you think that applies outside of family businesses as well, like a corporate business and a manager running?
Sure.
Sometimes it can be conducive for him to say, let's just go out and grab a coffee.
Definitely. Definitely. And some people have their favourite coffee shop, Yes, the coffee's great, but the ambience is right. There's the lighting, the noise, the positioning, the seat they happen to get. They get the corner table every time.
Yes.
Sometimes you go into a coffee shop and there's a little plaque sitting up there, so-and-so sits there, so that's their spot.
That's their spot.
And it happens.
Yeah. It's really interesting because I wanted to cover that with you because your business is quite complex. Someone who's just running, like me running a business, or I'm just running a business in a corporation. I don't mean it's simple, but it is simpler that the dynamics, I get to know them. Whereas yourself, the dynamics change because every family is different. And it's not just a family business, but it's actually families that are in business, which, see, I have listened to.
It's good.
All these dynamics going on. And I just thought a normal business owner can learn so much from just the different strategies of what you're talking about, and especially that little checklist. I'm glad you wrote it down.
Oh, it's not total, it's reasonably comprehensive.
Yeah. And yes, he did write etc. on the bottom because it keeps going.
And you don't know. You're going to have meetings with accountants, with lawyers, with other financial advisors, with other professionals. So you're going to have lots of meetings. It's part of being in business.
Yeah.
So come back to the purpose. What are you trying to achieve? And in most cases, I'm trying to learn. I'm also trying to share education and trying to move those people that haven't moved for a long time, move them through a change process that will be a positive process for them.
So you design your meetings so you can achieve those goals, and someone watching is going to be saying, you really need to design your meetings so you can achieve your goals. So you have to kind of know what they're going to be, don't you?
Generally, it works that way.
It generally works that way. I'm really conscious of your time.
The only thing is that I wrote down here is it's a journey.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was actually glancing. I couldn't quite read it because it's upside down, but you've highlighted it. So it's a journey.
Yeah.
So is that telling me patience is perhaps a virtue in this one?
Very definitely. Working with a group of people in a family business, because it's a journey and we're all going on the journey together, understanding that some people will travel a little quicker than others. We need to be a little bit tolerant, not expecting great change, great movement in one big bang up meeting. We've solved the problems of the world. It doesn't happen that way.
No. Wow. John, I am very conscious of your time. I'm actually watching the clock because I know you've got to go. You've got an early start. You've got early morning meetings, then off to Chicago. I can't wait till you get back. Maybe you can get some talks with us while you're in Chicago with a few of the other advisors.
I think that'd be great. I'll see what I can do.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us, John. Thanks for coming in. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks, Michael.